I'm Tirah Ciampa, and I am the national finalist for Miss World Australia, and this is my interview with the Pageant Project.
Hello, everyone. It's Adrian from the Pageant Project. My special guest for today is Tirah Ciampa. Did I say that correctly?
You did. Perfect.
Finally got it right. I've been trying for a little bit. Who is a Miss World Australia national finalist. Tirah, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited but nervous. I'm not the best speaker, but here we go.
There's nothing to be nervous about. I just ask the questions, and you just answer them like a normal person would. We just have a conversation. Now, obviously, Tirah, you have been battling some health issues, which I saw on Instagram and just sent you a get well soon or good luck message. Why don't we start with that? Because obviously it's been a focal point of your life for, I don't quite know how long, but I'll let you tell the story, and hopefully things are going as well as can be expected.
Yeah. So thank you so much for reaching out. It has been a really long, well, I say long, but then I feel inconsiderate because obviously people go through cancer battles or illnesses for a lot longer than what I have. But I've known since November that something wasn't right inside my body. But I had been having symptoms for about a year and a half prior to that. So
right.
Just one of those things where when you're a woman and you feel a certain pain here and there, you put it down to everything else, when really we probably should just go and get checked. Better safe than sorry. But it ended up being I had pancreatic cancer, so a huge 15-centimeter tumour growing from inside my pancreas. I don't know how it wasn't showing anywhere. I just had terrible back pain, again, some abdominal cramps. So nothing so serious where you're like, wow, I really need to go to the doctor. Something's not right. It was just they progressively got worse. So that's when I went to the doctor. We initially thought it was a heart problem because my Holter monitor came back saying I had a blockage in my heart and all this stuff. But then eventually we found this big tumour, and now they're thinking that because I'm so petite, it probably was pressing on a lot of arteries and stuff and causing my heart to be beating a bit fast and under strain. So I've just had a really major surgery. I've got cuts all over me, but the biggest one is from my chest all the way down to my belly button, and they removed it in Hull, so it's all gone. And I got the best news last week that it didn't spread anywhere, thank goodness. It was a really low-grade cancer, but if it was left there for another year, I would have passed away from it. So it's one of those ones where as soon as you know something's happening, just go to the doctor and just go and get checked, because if I had have left it and kept, just walking around with bad back pain or the cramps and stuff, I wouldn't be here next year. So
How old are you?
I'm 27. So
okay, so I normally don't ask that. Obviously it's rude to ask, but I only ask because having a brush with cancer, for anyone having a brush with death, is a scary, life-changing experience. I lost both my grandparents to cancer. One was to brain cancer, one was to lung cancer. And as an outsider getting the news, your heart drops. I can still remember the feeling now, and I hate hospitals to this day. Even though both my parents and even my brother are doctors, I just hate hospitals. So can I start by asking you, what was it like when you got the news? I mean, obviously it's not good news, but what was your immediate reaction?
It was really strange because we didn't pick it up until I was in getting an ultrasound of like my pelvic area and stuff. And I was laying there and the guy was scanning everything and I was like, what is that? Like, that's huge. That's like the biggest organ I've ever seen. He's like, oh, I actually don't know what that is. I'll go get the specialist. And then I was like waiting there for half an hour and I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't have joked about that. This sounds serious. And then it was panic mode by everyone. Got rushed straight into hospital and had the CAT scan, and it was just, I felt like I was pushed into a corner and I didn't have a choice to feel anything. So I don't know, I'm actually more struggling with coming out of it now than what I was when I was going through it, because I was just in like fight or flight mode. And I was just fighting, I wouldn't allow myself to crumble. I had so many amazing people around me checking in on me, and I didn't want them to see me weak, because I think I'd much prefer to have my own issues than to pass issues and, onto other people. And then, so I just kind of bottled it in, which I don't know if that's healthy, but I am dealing with it now. But it was very scary. I just tried to prepare myself for the worst, just so if it was good, which it is.
Sure.
You just know everything that's going to happen along the way. And while I was in hospital, I was in there for 9 days. I woke up with 9 tubes coming out of me. So one down my nose into my stomach. I had a bladder bag. I had one coming out of my stomach, draining my pancreas fluid. I had 2 going up to a drip that I just had 4 out of my neck, some out of my hands. It was just crazy. And I was at peace almost, because I just felt God with me. I felt the love around me from my friends and family. And I just knew that I just kind of put it all in God's hand. And look where I am, and I feel like I'm just really lucky.
I guess that's all you can do at a certain point, isn't it? Is let go, let God, as they say. When I think you strike me as someone immediately who obviously, you said multiple times already, you don't want to burden people with your own issues, yet you're not talking about, oh, I stubbed my toe or I got the wrong pair of heels. You are talking about a life-threatening disease.
Yes.
Given that, and the fact that you're a woman, so women typically will put up with all sorts of pains and not complain because they're used to dealing with it all the time. That's why man flu is such a thing. But how did you get to the point where you went, okay, this is not something to just tolerate anymore. Something could be wrong, because that takes courage in and of itself to admit to yourself, I better go and see a doctor because this isn't right. So how long did it take, or how did you get to the point where you're like, okay, I should go and see a doctor for this?
Yeah, it all started at Christmas. My mum gifted me this little finger thing where it checks your heart rate. And I kept putting it on, and because I'm into health and fitness. So my heart rate was extremely high, and I was like, wow, that's weird. Checked it every day, and I was like, that's really bad. I should probably see a doctor. And, the doctors are like $80 a hit. So when I go to the doctors, I load them up with every single thing that's been happening the last few months, just try and put it all on there. And so they gave me some scripts, and they gave me some, I had to go meet a cardiologist, because they obviously wanted to do that Holter monitor report. And then they also, I had mentioned while I was in there that I was getting some cramps, and they gave me, a piece of paper to go get an ultrasound done. And I got in the car, chucked the ultrasound one in the glove box. I was like, your heart's so much more important than a cramp. So I'll just sort this heart stuff out first. Which I thought I was doing for months. And then I found that in my glove box. And then I was like, oh, I better book that in. And that's where I actually found what was really wrong with me. So that's how, we found out. But the back pain, because the tumour wasn't pushing forward, that's why we couldn't see anything. It was actually pushing backwards, and that's why I had the back pain. It was like someone had punched me in the back. It wasn't like all over. So I was laying on the floor at work and everything, thinking, I need to stop slouching at my desk, just thinking it was,
oh my God.
And here's this huge tumour. I even went to this physio guy, right? Before I knew it was there. And I was like, my back, help me. And he's like, oh, you've pinched a nerve. And maybe I had, but like I said, I go to the gym a lot, and I thought I'd maybe hurt myself there. And but he was rubbing exactly where this tumour was. It was pushing badly on my back, and we all just thought it was a bad muscle.
I can't quite believe it was 15 centimeters. That's not small.
No, it's huge. It weighed a kilo. It weighed a kilo. So they weighed me post-op. Is it post-op? They weighed me
pre-op and post-op.
Pre-op. So pre-op,
okay,
they weighed me, and I was because I'm usually about 57, 58. I sit
Yeah.
at that scale. And then they weighed me, and I'd lost a lot of weight as well. So another indicator on something's not right.
Something's, yeah.
Yeah. And then they weighed me, and I was 52 kilos. And then we did the surgery the next day. And a couple of days later, once I could actually be lifted out of bed, I was at 51. So it weighed a kilo. It was a big tumour.
Well, that's
Yeah.
a form of weight loss that I don't think anyone wants to go through.
It was like a baby. I don't know how we didn't see it.
Well, I mean, that's a question that I think people will want to know is like, how could it be 15 centimeters and weigh a kilo and you didn't know? But I mean, obviously you didn't know, otherwise you would have done something about it. But were there any outside indications like clothes didn't fit or something like that?
No, that's the thing. I was losing weight, and I was like, how? And that's when, like, we first looked at it. I'd love to show you the ultrasound, the CAT scan of it. It's the biggest thing in my body. And what had happened, my stomach, why I was losing weight, my stomach had collapsed over the tumor. It was like it looked like a sausage laying over this big ball. And that's why I had the tube down my nose when I woke up, not because they were feeding me through it, but because they were scared that my stomach was going to expand and blow up through trauma because it was so used to being deflated.
Squashed.
And they were scared that it was going to blow up, kind of like, as horrible as it sounds, but when you see the poor, like, Ethiopian children and stuff, and they've been starving, and then their stomachs are so swollen. That's what they were worried was going to happen. Yeah.
Right. So out of all this terrible experience, can I ask, what are some of the lessons you've taken from it, or how is life looking? I can only imagine. I've never been in a similar situation, but you wake up. You said you had 9 tubes, I think, in parts of your body all over the place, and obviously you're still young. You want to have a family. You're enrolled in pageants, which we'll get to eventually, I promise. But you're alive. And you get a good prognosis, which after a life-threatening disease is the best news I can imagine ever. So what's your outlook on life now?
Well, I've always been religious, but I feel more close to God than ever, for starters. And then also just being thankful for the small things. Like, who would ever wake up and just get out of bed and be like, oh, I'm so grateful that I can get myself out of bed. Like, even for me now, I look able, but I have no core, like my muscle got cut. So I have to use my arms to push myself in and out of bed. But even just to go to the bathroom by yourself, or to shower yourself, or even to walk, it took me 5 days to learn how to walk again. And when I was walking, I was hunched over because I had cords coming out everywhere. I was in agony. I'm very grateful and thankful for the little things, but also, just want to be more cautious moving forward and focus on the things that really matter. I love my job, like, so much, but then again, at 27, you're like, what are my plans for the future? And when you're laying in bed and you don't know if you're going to wake up from this surgery, it was meant to be a 4-hour surgery. It turned into an 8-hour surgery. You know, everyone at home was panicking, wondering why it's taking so long. And then when I wake up, it's like, it's a reality check on what can I do to help as well. Like, me waking up as a 27-year-old with all of that going on, you know, it's horrible, but there are children waking up with all of that going on. And, like, I want to be able to go into hospitals and maybe make a difference there now. Cancer's always been something that's been in my life. My grandfather passed away with brain tumours. That was pretty crazy as well. So I have been on the other side of it, seeing someone really sick as well. And I think that's where I can help. I'm great with children, and I think that's going to be my goal for this year, is to get into those hospitals and start helping out, brightening some little kids' lives, because I'd happily go through it again than to see these little children with all these cords and, you know, chemo. I'm so lucky I didn't have to have any chemo. I can't even imagine. So we're all very blessed, and it's, every day is a gift.
One of my big pet peeves is victim mentality. When people want to feel sorry for themselves, you seem to be the antithesis of it here.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Because honestly, if that was a gift that you could package up, I would buy 100 of that and ship it out to. And it's not just a pageant thing. It's not a women thing. It's ever so many people in this day. The first time they get a bit of hardship, the immediate reaction is to look at who to blame, rather than going, "What can I do about it?" So
Yeah.
where do you get this incredible gift from? Because it's not a personality trait that many people have, and for most people, it traces back to childhood.
Yes, correct. Yeah. Well, I have a beautiful family. I love them all so much, but I was in a situation at a young age where I couldn't live at home anymore. So I moved out at 14, and I've been living by myself since I was 14, fending for myself. I'd go to school every day and come home, then go to work. And I think I used to pay $170 a week in rent, which was pretty good back then. But, and I've just hustled my whole life. And I remember, I mean, it's very personal, but I'm happy to speak about it because if it can help someone, I'm sure, that's what I want to do for the world. But I was sitting in my little lounge room at like 14, 15 and just thinking, I hate my life. Like, why am I even here? Like, I have no family around me. I'm terrible at school, and I was pretty suicidal, I'll be honest. And I just thought to myself, there are people way worse than me. So I just need to keep going and keep going and keep going. And that's what I've done my whole life. And now my highest level of education is grade 9, but the car care manager across 16 car brands here in Hobart. Like, I don't like to sit and dwell about things. Your hardships don't have to be hardships. They can be the thing to push you forward and achieve great things. But yeah, it's a mental game, and unfortunately not everyone has that ability to get past the hard times in life.
I mean, hard times are guaranteed, isn't it? I mean, we're always going to have problems. The only thing you can hope for is that you have better quality problems as you keep working hard. I want to ask about, obviously, your religion, your faith in God, and I'll preface this by saying last year I read the Bible from beginning to end for the first time. It was something I had on my bucket list for the longest time. I couldn't have told you why. I just felt like I needed to do it. I was made to go to church every Sunday by my parents. And of course, as a kid, if you're made to do something, you automatically resent it and hate it. But then I read the Bible, and I think since then, particularly this year, the interviews I've had, especially with a lot of the American girls, because American pageantry is more tightly associated with religion, specifically Christianity, than probably Australian pageantry is. So I've not had a chance really to speak to an Australian pageant girl about faith and the importance that it plays in your life, because I think it's hugely important. Whatever religion you practice, and even if you don't, you need to find something bigger than yourself to serve. That I think if you just think about yourself all the time, it's very, very dangerous. So when did you find your faith? Was it during that 14 to 15 when you were, I mean, that's remarkable. Can we just say you do that at home, $14.50, $170 a week in rent? I mean, okay, it won't get you anywhere now, but as a 14 to 15-year-old, that's amazing. So the faith, where did that start to come into your life?
So my family are Italian. They baptized me Catholic straight away. So I'm classed as Catholic. I go to the Catholic church occasionally, but I have found Hillsong here in Hobart, and I love it. It's so much more interactive, and the community, the group of friends I've made is amazing. When I was growing up, I'm originally from Somerset, which has about 3,000 people. It's next door to Burnie on the northwest coast of Tasmania. I now live in Hobart, but on the northwest coast, in such a small community, if you say, oh, I'm religious or I believe in God, then you're probably going to get bashed at lunchtime kind of thing. So we just didn't speak about it. And I guess I kind of suppressed it because I was picked on for believing in God, and it made me feel stupid. So then I didn't lose my faith, but I didn't speak about it. And I didn't go to church. I didn't let anyone see me, but I still believed. And as I've gotten older, I still get, like at work, because I wear this every day, and obviously people notice it, and the boys will make little comments here and there, and I'm just like, bring it. I don't care anymore. I'm proud. I believe in God. I'm not going to preach it to you. But, if you have questions, feel free to ask. But yeah, so I feel closer to God now, obviously going through that life and death situation, but also I started going to Hillsong before I was diagnosed with this tumour, and I just love the community there. I love the music and I love the message, and it's very similar. It's the same Bible that I read at the Catholic Church. So God is God to me, and I just want to know that when I get married and have children, that my children aren't going to walk into church and be like, I don't want to be here. And, they're going to walk into a fun Christian church that they're going to build connections and friends and people that believe the same as them. And that'll make me feel better too, because the world's pretty scary at the moment.
Oh, I absolutely second that. I'm not feeling particularly optimistic about the way the world's headed at the moment. But I mean, the concept of a church where children could have fun is pretty alien to me. I remember in our church, if you had noisy kids, you were supposed to basically lock them up. There was a silent room at the back where the mothers would have to take the kids if they were misbehaving. But that question about whether you believe in God or not, I think that's a very interesting question, because I think what is the alternative if you don't? As in, again, I'm respectful of whatever you believe, but if you don't believe in something bigger than yourself, I don't think that ends particularly well, because if you are going through a very hard time, which obviously you have been through multiple tough times, whether you talk about them or not, because you don't think there's someone who's going to bring them up, but moving out by yourself at 14 and then going through cancer, those two alone would deck most people. But if you didn't have faith during times like that, I think it would make it even more difficult, no?
Yeah, 100%. I'll another horrible story. You're going to think I've just had the worst life in the world, but I promise I love my life. But my best friend, who was my cousin, he was 5 weeks older than me. So my mum had me pretty young. So I grew up with my mum, but also mostly with my nan and pop, or nan and nonnel, because they had all their children, which are only a couple years older than me. So like my uncles are only like 1-2 years older than me. And then my cousin, Zach, I thought he was my twin, like growing up. I didn't know. I was just too busy hanging out with all these kids. I didn't know who my mum was or who was my auntie or my nan. So, we were like twins, and he was my best friend my whole life. And he was raised exactly the same as me, with faith. And eventually he moved to Sydney. He met a woman over there, and she wasn't I don't believe she believed in God. I could be completely wrong there, but they didn't live a godly life. And they, unfortunately, he sent me a message one night, and it was horrible. And it was something about Jesus, and it was bagging out Jesus. And usually I would respond to anything that he'd send me, but this one time I didn't respond to him. The next day, and I know it's not my fault at all, like, I don't even know why I need to explain that. Of course, I know it's not my fault, but he committed suicide the next day and passed away about 2 days later after having cardiac arrest. So they did revive him, but he was unconscious the whole time he was there. And it breaks my heart, because I should have known right then and there that he had lost his faith. And I feel like I should have responded at least and been like, why are you saying this? Why are you mentioning God in that way? And it's just scary to think that that's how he left. He gave up on his life. He gave up on God, and he gave up on everyone. And it breaks my heart to know that I can never speak to him again. But I feel him with me all the time, and I know he's saved. It's just one of those ones where I think that made me believe even more, because, again, a hard experience just brings you closer to God, or it can push you further away. It's just up to you how you want to take it. You might feel distant, but he's always there. God's always there. So it's your choice. He's never going to abandon you. You might abandon him for a while, but you can always come back.
How many more tragedies have you undergone?
I could write a book. I could write a book. My friends say to me all the time, like, you should write a book. And I'm just like, but I don't want to hurt other people's feelings. Do you know what I mean? Like, because other
I
people are a
understand.
part of my experience. And I mean, I love everyone. My life is great because I've made it great. So yeah, it's fine.
So if you were to write a book or to have a movie, this is a common pageant question. They will say, like, if there was a movie about your life, what would you call it? What would the
Oh,
title be? And who would you get to play yourself?
oh my gosh. I don't know what the title would be. I'd feel like I'd probably want like Margot Robbie or someone to play me. But yeah, I have no idea about the title. The Never Ending Story, maybe. Just
I think
continues on to the next.
that one might be taken already, but fair enough. Maybe we can bring it
Yeah.
back. Maybe I
Yeah.
mean they reboot everything these days.
They
There's
do.
no
They
such thing
do.
as a new movie. Everything is
Mate,
coming
I'm
back.
like I'm the modern day Cinderella. It's like, I'm on the way up.
I don't think Cinderella. Well, I mean, it depends whether you go with the Disney version or the original, like the written version. Because in the written version, the older stepsisters cut their toes off or something to fit in the slipper. That's the
Oh my
original version,
gosh. I
and
need
there's
to read
blood
it.
gushing out
Jeez.
everywhere. But they did that because they
Oh,
needed to fit in that shoe. And the Disney
wow.
version is much more G-rated.
I love
Um,
the Disney version.
Yes, let's just say the Disney version is not quite faithful to the original. Same with the Little Mermaid. I think in the Little
Mm.
Mermaid, when she gets her feet, or there's something, it's something about her burning her feet, and she's in incredible pain. So it's not song and dancing, and
You need
what
to
a
send me
wonderful
the
world.
links to these books. Jeez, I had no
I
idea.
haven't actually read them. It's just I've seen like stories about how actually the Disney version, what actually happened in the real story, because the real stories I think are hundreds of years old. But I won't make you read them because maybe it will dent your optimism. But I mean, how do you go through so many things like that and then
Mm.
sit here and say that you love your life? Because I know a lot of people who've been through nothing, and I don't mean that dismissively. Everyone has their issues, but comparatively to what other people can go through, and you've mentioned that multiple times, shown great awareness of that, I think. But there are people who've really been through nothing. The biggest issue is, oh, my mum won't get me my latest iPhone, or won't let me go on Instagram, or I lost 1,000 followers, or someone than me has 2 more followers than me. Oh my God, my life is over, sort of thing. Yet you've been
Mm.
through so much, and you are obviously optimistic. That's just what grabs me. How do you do
Yeah.
that?
I think I don't know any different. I had a friend a couple of years ago who had a full-on breakdown because it broke my heart too, but I couldn't understand at the time why he was so upset. But his parents had divorced. He was around 20 years old and they were selling the family home, and he had lived in this home his whole life. And I was like, I've lived in like 40, 50 different houses growing up. Like, why do you care? And then I thought that is like the biggest problem for him right now. And he's hurting probably as bad as
Yeah.
I was hurting in certain situations,
Yep.
but it doesn't mean it's not valid. It's just, I guess you adapt to your environment. And I've just been in a situation where I've been thrown some curveballs, and I'm good at, dodging them and just keep on climbing the hill, because I feel like my life is a Disney movie. I feel like I've already won the lotto. I'm alive. I've won the best crown in the world. But also I just feel like life's a journey, and I'll just have Prince Charming and have a castle and everything will be great.
Well, if your life is a Disney movie, you need to be able to sing. So can you sing?
Oh, don't make me do that. I can a
No,
little
I'm not
bit,
going
but
to make.
oh,
I'm not
good.
going to make you. I think you've
I
been through
can,
enough
I
trauma
can. I'm
recently.
gonna sing for the Miss World pageant, so I will.
Okay.
You will see it then. Stay tuned. But yes,
Okay.
I can sing. Usually, just in the choir at church. But
Okay. I just wanted to ask if you could. I wasn't going to make you do it. As I said, I think you've been through enough recently without me making you sing live. Can you give us a hint? Like, what style are you going to be singing? Opera? Are we singing pop,
it'll probably
blues,
be
R&B?
a Disney song, I reckon. I love Disney. Yeah, I'm a little nerd for Disney, so probably like a Disney song.
Okay. Favorite
Can you
Disney
feel
movie?
Can you feel the love tonight? Maybe. I love The
Uh,
Lion King, but I love Cinderella. I love every princess movie pretty much. But yeah, love The Lion King and like Toy Story and stuff.
Have you been to Disneyland?
I've been to 2.
She says conspiratorially. What was your how old were you when you went?
So my mum sent me to America when I was 11 years old to study at the New York Film Academy for 2.5 weeks, I believe. And we went to Disneyland. I believe it was in California. And then I went to Paris in 2017 and went to Disneyland in Paris.
Right.
So yeah, and my favorite ride is, I might not say it right, but I think it's called the Tower of Terror or something. It's like this elevator that like takes you up, and it's like Doctor Strange music going on, and it's fun. It's scary though.
Is that the one that just drops you?
Yeah, yeah.
How is that related to Disney at all? That's not in any Disney movie that I remember.
I'm not here for the teacup rides. I really like that Tower of Terror one. Yeah, it was good fun.
So did you enjoy it more as like an 11-year-old, or did you enjoy it more as like a 20-something-year-old?
An 11-year-old for sure, because it was just, yeah, unexpected. And I just was like, wow, this is incredible. And you're a kid, you know. When I was in Paris, it wasn't as fun, but that was not because of Disneyland. It was probably the company, which we won't go there.
No. I can take a hint. Do you speak French at all?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Just English.
All right. I was just going to see if you could speak any French. Now, that leads us on to, well, let's segue to pageantry. You've obviously lived a manic life. How did pageantry come onto the radar?
So my mum was a little bit of a, like, she reminds me of like the Toddlers and Tiaras, but like the Tasmanian version. I've never actually competed in a pageant, but I have won a few Burnie shows and the Devonport Regatta, which are just, they're literally like showground things where 5 rides will come along and there's a random fashion show, which I'd win like everyone for sure, because mum was right into that. And in the Devonport Regatta, I won the pageant there, well, the show there. And at the time, I don't even know how old I was, probably 10. At the time, Chris Hemsworth was the judge. He was on Home and Away at that time. And he placed me first and gave me like this Barbie dream house, and it was great. And I guess Tasmania doesn't really have a lot to offer. Someone from Miss World reached out to me when I was maybe 25 and said, oh, would you like to see if you'd like to represent Tasmania, come along. And then COVID happened, so it was delayed. And eventually I made it, but now this is my last year that I can actually compete for Miss World, because I am very old in the pageant world. I think once I turn 28, that's me done for Miss World. So this is my one and only chance to give it all I've got.
Well, I mean, that can be a good thing and a bad thing. I think the age eligibility rules are one of the more stupid things we have in pageantry, because I honestly don't. What's the difference between a 28-year-old and a 29-year-old? I mean, honestly, it's like life lived. I mean, you've lived enough life to be 5,000 by the sound of it. You don't look your age. Let's say you look a lot younger, and given what you've gone through recently, I mean, no one would sit through this and go, well, yeah, she's been through a surgery. I can see that. It's like, no.
I know,
the age eligibility rules, I mean, they started off as, I don't know, but, even Miss America, which was cutting off at 25, I think this year's moved to 28. And then there are other pageants which have now moved it to 35. And I'm like,
I did see that.
Yeah, because, I mean, honestly, especially in this day and age, a lot of women are getting, specifically for women, because we're talking about pageantry, they get married and have kids later on in life, right? They're putting more into their career, so things get put on hold. Used to be married and having kids, 21, 22, 23 wasn't uncommon. So I do think it's time that pageantry move with the times. Did you know at the time that Chris Hemsworth would, similarly to yourself, go on to bigger and better things? Because he's done pretty well for himself.
He has, yeah. No, I didn't. I was just, maybe a little crush when I was 10. Geez, I was just super excited to seeing the guy that I watch every night on Home and Away. But he's actually here in Tasmania, in Hobart today. Someone posted a photo of him out at the go-kart range, so might have to scoot out there and be like, remember me?
What are you doing on an interview with me? Go karting then. That'd be much more exciting. I can't believe he'd fit in a go-kart. That guy is huge.
I know. I'd just love to get a photo with him for the before and after, you know, just to see the difference, because he looked really I've got a photo here on the iPad. Do you want me to show you?
Yeah.
He did not look like what he looks like now.
I was going to say, take that photo when you go chase him down. Take that photo and say, "Look at this. This is you," because that'll immediately get his attention because you have a photo with him already.
Here we go. Oh, there. Can you see that?
Let's say he's aged well. That's such a home and away look. I have a lot of. Let's go. Okay, because I'm just conscious that I have a lot of American and a lot of UK, a lot of viewers who aren't from Australia. Please explain to them what Home and Away is.
Oh gosh, Home and Away. I don't even know how long it's been going. It's been going for longer than I've been alive, and it's just this like show that goes for half an hour every night at 7, I believe, and it's got more drama than my life, if you can believe that. I feel like it was based on my life. Yeah, it's just a hectic show, and they've produced some amazing stars from it. Actually, it's like the perfect stepping stone. If you get on Home and Away, you've got the chance to go to America and be, you know, famous.
Do you know the theme song by heart? That's just what's popped into my head. Is it still the same one? You and I belong together. Isn't it that one?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
my boyfriend and I went to Summer Bay recently before I realized I was sick. Yeah,
I've been there as well.
What's it called again?
Palm Beach.
Palm Beach, that's it.
Yep.
But and I videoed him running up the beach like shirtless, and then put that theme song behind it and said, "Oh, look at the new guy on Home and Away."
The new hunk on the block.
Yeah.
No, I had a friend from England staying with me, and obviously because she's from England, she wanted to go see the beaches, and I love the northern beaches because Palm Beach, Whale Beach, Avalon, they're all part of the northern beaches. And I was legitimately just wandering around, driving around rather aimlessly, just taking her to all these amazing beaches. And then I happened upon the Home and Away set without even knowing what was going on. I was like,
really?
why are all these tourist buses here? And then like you'd see a Home and Away sign, like this is the set of Home and Away, and then you'd see the shack. Is it like the shack?
Yeah, Alf's little fish shop too.
Alf. Yeah, and then I was like, oh, this is a set of home. She had no idea what Home and Away was. I mean, from the UK, they probably watched Neighbours more.
Neighbours, 100%. Yeah,
Neighbours,
I feel like Neighbours was bigger over there than what it was here.
Yeah, that was huge. That was one of the. Was it both of the Minogues, the Kylie and Danny?
I believe so.
Kylie was on Neighbours, I think. I think Danny, I can't remember. Anyway, it's just tragic. I used to watch it a long, long time ago. Is Alf still alive? That's all I have to ask.
I think
is he still alive?
I mean, I don't watch it. I don't watch any TV, but I believe he is. I would love to have a photo of Alf, way more than Chris Hemsworth. I think Alf's a legend.
Make sure when you see Chris Hemsworth, it's like, well, I'd rather see, you know, what's his name? Raymar, I think is his name. Oh, that'd be classic. What's Chris Hemsworth doing in Tasmania?
Tasmania is beautiful. He's probably, I mean, I think he's a bit of an adventurous guy. He's got a beautiful wife and children, so I reckon they're probably here having a nice little holiday. We've got some beautiful beaches, especially along the northwest coast, and a lot of beautiful waterfalls and bike tracks. And it's Tasmania's for the scenic people. It's not to go shopping by any means. We've also got beautiful fresh produce and so many amazing wineries. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to fill a van up of girls and just go around to all the wineries and the cheese places and just have a nice little wine day. But I probably can't do that anymore because I don't have much of a pancreas left, but that's all right. I can be the designated driver now on.
Well, there's other things that you can enjoy there as well. I mean, it's still good. It's exactly. It's still, I don't know what life would be without good wine and cheese. That's just a combination. Tasmania, if I've never been to Tasmania, I'm not bragging about it. It's just something that I've realized because I interviewed someone from Tasmania about a month ago, and I
Yeah.
realized actually I've never been to Tasmania. My parents have been, and they kept saying how lovely it was. If I wanted to go somewhere in Tasmania, as someone who's never been there, and I wanted to, let's say, be off the beaten track, but not like in the middle of the wilderness where I'd get lost and eaten by something, where should I go? Like
Definitely
hiking wise or something.
yeah, Coles Bay is beautiful. So it's like this gorgeous wraparound beach. There you can walk just to the lookout. That is very strenuous just to get to the lookout. But then
Okay.
if you have a spare couple of hours, you can walk all the way down to the beach. But it's made from like all these rocks that they've made into stairs. And if you fall and hurt yourself, you're getting helicoptered out of there. So, but it's beautiful. It's my favorite place in Tasmania. Yeah, Coles
It's
Bay.
funny you say that, and it's like for most people that should be a turn off, but for me that's
Yeah.
like, oh, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Not that I want
It's
to get helicoptered out, but I want to see what this looks like now.
it's so strenuous. Like I don't even know if I have asthma properly, but I like was on the asthma puffer the whole walk up and down it. And I'm very fit. And yeah, it's a pretty brutal track to get down and up.
I mean, you've already said you're health and fitness. You're hugely into health and fitness. So now, when you're in your sort of recovery phase, do you find it a challenge to, I imagine, take it easy? Because I
Yeah.
have to, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming just from what we've talked that you used to push yourself or will continue to push yourself pretty hard at the gym. So has
Yeah.
it been a bit of an adjustment to not be able to do that?
It definitely has been. Just because usually my day would be I wake up at 5, I go to the gym, and then I start work at 8, and then I'm back home, cook dinner, clean the house, go to sleep, and then do it again. But
Repeat.
so yeah, it's hard because I can't go to the gym like at all.
Yeah.
I've only just started walking properly in the last week. So
Wow.
standing up straight was a real big issue. Releasing me from hospital was a big issue because I have a big staircase at home. So I had to have a lot of physio to work out if I can even get upstairs. But I met with my surgeon last week and he said 6 weeks after the operation, then I can slowly start doing some things in the gym again. So, yes, just being patient. And I think when you have an injury or something like that as well, the best thing you can do is not dwell on it and be upset and just have wasted time. Find something else that you like to do. You can pick up a book and exercise your brain, find some new hobbies you like to do. Like I've just started up painting, which I really enjoy, and it clears my mind, which is a rare thing for me. So yeah, I'm doing things. I'm not dwelling on not being able to do my normal routine of going to the gym when I have spare time. I'm just using that spare time to do other things now.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Let me segue on to your career, which you've mentioned. Is it car sales? I just want to be
Yeah.
accurate about it. And you said that your colleagues have nicknamed you the sales queen.
Mm-hmm.
So explain what's going on here. I love sales and marketing, so I'm dying to hear about this. So tell me
Yeah.
more about your career.
So I worked in supermarkets for years after leaving high school, and I kind of thought, I'm going to be stuck working in supermarkets forever because it's very hard to find another job when you don't have experience in anything else. And then eventually I got approached by a saleswoman. She said, you'd be perfect for this job. And so I risked it. I went in. Obviously, sales, you only get your base rate, and if you're not good, you're not going to get paid anything. But if you're good, you
Yeah.
get commissions. So it can be very rewarding if you're good. And I just
Yeah.
took off. And so I started off being named like superstar or something like that. But then when I became the Tasmanian finalist for Miss World, they would call me all sorts of things. I'd pick up the phone to call a customer to take a deposit on a car, and they'd be like, oh, is this Miss Tasmania I'm speaking to? I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm so embarrassed. So the boys just love to pick on me a little bit, which is fine. And obviously it's a very male-dominated industry, car sales, and growing up with all brothers and uncles, that's no issue for me. And I'm really good at my job. I'm not going to lie. I'm good at selling to people, and I get number one in the country some months, for selling certain products. And I get lots of gift cards. Like even my fridge when we moved into this house was free because I just get so many gift cards for selling lots of stuff. And so I do occasionally sell cars if I have to. But I'm actually the sales manager for car care in the States. So I sell all the extras on cars that you probably don't know about. You say you don't want, but you'll probably buy them anyway by the time you sit down with me.
Are we talking about like after car, after care,
after
car?
sale? Yeah, after sales. We hate that word. We try not to talk about it too much, but the products that I sell are really genuine products. I put them on my mum's car, my brother's car, my auntie's car, my car, but they're just things that, I guess when you're buying a new car, you have a budget. They're expensive. It's the second biggest thing you're probably going to buy in your
After
life
your
for
house.
most people. Yeah. So it's a huge deal. And, someone will have a budget and they'll come in and then they'll realize that, okay, the car costs this, but then you've got your on-roads and your registration and you want window tint. Well, that's going to be this as well. And, sit down with Tirah and she'll go through all your extras, and then, your budget expands a bit. But, when people get online and like, oh, that car's only this much, it's not. That's just for the car. But all the other things that you need with it to even get it on the road, it's going to be a little bit more. So it's just, a lot of communication in my job. And I have a little team of girls that help me. And, I've been off work for 2 months, which is crazy through this whole experience. So I'll be starting up mid this week. I'm just going to start from home and ease my way in. I don't even want to look at how many emails I have, but I think I'll just delete all of them and just start fresh. But I have an amazing job, amazing bosses, amazing team, and I'm so blessed. Definitely.
I love sales and marketing, probably quite unusually. I don't think many people are interested in sales and marketing. But I want to ask you this because I thought that you sold cars. Now, I think what you do is actually more difficult because where someone wants a car, they're probably coming to look at a car because they half want it, right? You never go in a car, it's like, I'll never buy this car, so I'll spend my time looking at it. So really, I thought and I've bought a car before, and I kind of think like, as a salesperson, as long as you can tell me what I want to know, I'll probably sell myself. I probably sold myself before I walk in the door. But your job is it more difficult, I think, because exactly what you mentioned, you have a price in mind. Like, I'm going to buy a car, let's call it 20K. So I want something for, 19.9. It's got a warranty, great. And then I've done that. I've said, yes, I'm going to buy it. And then I sit down with someone like yourself and you want more money from me, which even if the products I think are good, it's like, oh, I thought I was done. Like, didn't the car come with this? So I actually 100%. Think what you do is more difficult. So now I'm dying to ask you, what do you think the key to good sales is? To being an effective salesperson, and obviously you are, what's the key to being an effective salesperson? Bearing in mind, you finished, and I mean this respectfully, but only year 9, as you said.
Yes.
So we're not talking about someone who's had an MBA and Harvard and all this. What's the key to being a good salesperson?
I think definitely having an adaptable personality. So again, I work in 16 car brands. So sometimes I'm sitting down with a guest from Porsche or Mercedes. Sometimes I'm sitting down with a guest from Kia or Mazda. So two different, ranges of people and customers. So you've got to have an adaptable personality. You need to be open in conversation, and while you're making conversation with these people, you need to find the key points that are going to help you sell. So window tint is super easy. For starters, Tasmania has the highest UV in the country, so it blocks 99% of the UV. It makes the glass shatterproof. So if someone's coming in with children or they have their pets in the car and a lot of things like that, I'm grabbing all these bits of information and storing it for later when they come and sit down with me later. And then it sounds horrible, but you almost use it against them. You're like, but You want the window tint
But
because
you're not, but you're not using it against them, because what you're really, I mean, that's a negative. You can look at anything in a negative way, but what you're
yeah,
really looking at is what would their needs be, and then
exactly.
you go to meet their needs, right?
I'd never sell someone. So, say if like an elderly couple came in and they didn't even have a mobile phone, I would never even mention dash cams to them, if that makes sense. Like, they're not going to want extra
Yeah,
technology in these cars that have
of
nearly
course.
everything now. And the same goes, like, if someone has vision impairment or something, I'm not going to try and sell them the darkest legal tint. But yes, it is about finding out what that guest needs and then offering it to them in a way that they can see it in their life and how it would benefit them later on. So yes, sales is a funny one. It's sometimes you feel great, sometimes you don't feel great. It's just one of those ones where you just have to make sure that you can, do the best job that you can do, and make sure that you're looking after every guest. And I think selling cars, and I'm sure it would be the same with selling houses, because we sell, like 10 cars a day,
Mm.
we forget the importance and the excitement of what it feels for the customer
Getting a
sometimes.
brand new car. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they probably only buy one every 10 years, or maybe it's their first ever car and we're selling them every day.
Mm.
And it's like, hello. Yeah, and you've just got to keep that level of professionalism and also just the excitement. It's like, this is so exciting for this person. And, we want to make sure that they're getting everything they need so that they come back to us and they're happy to buy another car later on, because we've only sold them everything they need
Yeah.
to fulfill what they needed in this vehicle moving forward. And be the same with houses. I mean, you do it every day, and the hustle. Sometimes you're working with a guest for like 3 months before they're ready to come in,
Mm.
and it can be strenuous sometimes. But you've got to remember, it's a huge commitment.
Yeah. I think houses is, I mean, I've gone on the real estate hunt, and I have a couple of good friends, a lot of them pageantry actually, who have gone on to be successful real estate agents. But I know very well that sometimes you have to sell this thing and it's falling apart. And there's this whole encyclopedia of real estate language, what it actually
Mm.
means. Like when they call it like a fixer upper's dream, it means it's completely falling apart.
Yeah,
Or it's cozy, means it's cramped, all that sort of stuff. So at least in cars, I guess you don't have to sell something that is completely falling apart.
that's right.
Um, can I ask you, what's the most, like, do you have a dream car yourself now? That, I mean, you obviously work in the industry, or do you just
Yeah.
like not care about cars because you work in it and it's just work?
I didn't care about cars before, but now I'm a little bit, high maintenance
Car
with my
nerd,
cars.
right?
Yeah, I don't know. For value for money, Kias are the go at the moment. They are packed
Hmm.
full of tech, and
Yeah.
they are so well priced still. They're going places big time. But just because everyone wants to be a little bit bougie sometimes, I really like the Mercedes at the moment. I had one a couple of months ago when I was sick. I had a wedding to go to, so I drove the bride in a Mercedes, and I was like, "This is nice. I could get used to this." But I have a work vehicle. I've had a work vehicle since I've been with my employment, and I'm like the Jeep ambassador for Hobart. So Jeep is one of the brands that we have. So I'm mad about the Jeeps. So I'm usually in a Compass, which I'm very comfortable in, but I get swapped into the Gladiators or the Wranglers, and yeah, they're pretty big boys cars, those ones, but I don't mind getting around in them either.
Yeah, one of my friends bought a Wrangler a while ago,
Yeah.
and it's tiny. It's like one of those ones you have to climb into and then you fall out of. It's not a small. It's a kind of the opposite to a Kia. I have a Hyundai, so
Yeah.
largely
Yeah.
similar. And I bought it because I just wanted something that wouldn't break down and was in the
Mm.
lowest insurance bracket. It's in some ways it's like driving around the fridge. It's a white guy. I mean, it's literally white, but it's just a no nonsense car.
I had a
And
Hyundai. Yeah, white
yeah,
i30 when I
that's what I
first
have.
started. Yeah,
I have a white i30, and I'm never going to tell you that I love it, but it does, because
I
I've had
love
some
them.
lemons in the past. I used to have a
Yeah.
Subaru and got it new, and then like within the first year, one of the cylinders stopped working on the
Yeah.
road, which is not a good feeling when you're chugging along and one of the cylinders
No.
stops working.
Thank goodness for
Um,
warranties.
well, Hyundai's and Kias, the whole Korean car manufacturing company brought in all those warranties. Like, it used to be 3 years, and then it was
Mhm.
5 years, and then it was 7 years, and then it
Yeah.
was unlimited kilometers. So that certainly seems to have
Yeah.
gone places. Weird question, but what's the one, like, after sales, what's the one thing that you sell that you think is the most underrated or overlooked component? Like, what's the one thing
Mm.
that you wish everyone would get that no one really thinks about?
Yeah, definitely window tint is your most important. I always say that because it literally blocks the UV from coming in. Australia has a huge,
Mm,
UV rating, and it makes your glass shatterproof as well. So an added safety feature too. It's not just to make your windows dark.
mm.
But the most underrated one is the paint protection. Paint protection is this
Oh,
clear coat that goes over your paintwork, and it's
yep,
expensive, and people are put off straight away because when I sell paint protection, it's an extra $2,000 that they have to
yep,
add to their car for something they can't see, they can't touch, they can't smell. It's invisible. It's a clear coat over your
yep,
paint. It's a very hard sell, but I sell a lot of it because again, Tasmania has a really high UV rating, and paint on cars can deteriorate really fast. And they usually come with a 20-year warranty. Some even come with a lifetime
wow,
warranty.
okay,
But there's a bad rep for them because they've been around for a while, just like everything. When they first started out, they probably didn't do the job that they were promised it was going to do.
okay,
So then when you have a
yep,
customer who bought their car 10 years ago and they're ready for their next car now, and they bought the paint protection 10 years ago, and you've got to,
convince
try
them
and, try
that
and,
it's gotten better.
yeah, that's right. But paint protection is the number one thing that you should be getting on your car, because no one wants to buy, even if your car runs perfectly when you want to resell it, if your paint's peeling and you've got bird dropping corrosions and, rust and all sorts of things, no one wants to pay good money for that car. So,
Yeah. I didn't even know that was a thing. And
yeah,
I
that's
say
the
that
biggest one.
because I have my white Hyundai i30 and I'm thinking of
Yeah.
selling it, but I live in Sydney. I don't know how much you know about Sydney, but the North Shore of Sydney, which
Mm.
is famous for having a lot of trees, so a lot of sap
Yeah.
drops on the car, and then a ton of birds. Like if you
Yeah.
park under it, I have this sort of choice to make every day. Do I park my car in the sun, which means it's boiling, it's bad for the interior, let alone the
Mm.
exterior? Or do I park it in the shade under the tree, but then it gets covered in sap and, as you said, bird droppings? And you
Mm.
won't believe over a 5-year period how much damage that, I mean, you will believe, but other
Yeah,
people
I've
wouldn't
seen
believe how
it.
much damage that can do over 5 years.
Yeah.
And if I'd known about paint protection, looking at my car now, I'm like, I wish I'd got that, because there's stains on it and bits on it. I don't even know what they are, but I can't get rid of them, even
Yeah,
with a pressure hose.
we just repaint them and then reapply it. So yeah, with the paint protection, you've got a 20-year warranty for even tree sap, all your droppings, all of that stuff. It's pretty impressive what it does. But yeah, it's just one of those ones where it is a fair bit extra on top of your car, but in the long run,
Yeah.
if your car hasn't held up too well with the paint, you don't have to fit that bill of $8,000 to get it repainted before you sell it.
Mm,
We do that. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's
Uh,
Australia wide. If anyone wants to buy it, just mention it to any of your car brands.
Well, I'm telling you, if you, because you mentioned the fact about UV in Australia is a particular issue. I think
Mm,
also trees, native trees,
yes.
and birds in Australia
Yeah.
is another very particular issue to Australia. I don't know if you get it in America or Europe, where a lot of these cars are made, but
Mm,
here in Australia we have some very peculiar problems
yes, we
that
do.
are particular to this country, especially with wildlife.
Yeah.
Um, You've got, I don't know if you know Dimity, I think you must, because she said definitely adaptable. You can do anything, girl. I'm in a different state and was sold on products. And she's also said, OMG, love that Mercedes. Ha ha. So this is,
Yes, this is my little cousin. This is Zach's little sister, actually. So she is my best friend, and she lives in Sydney. She has a lash studio in Bankstown called Dole Lash, but she was also in a pageant. So she actually is probably my inspiration to getting in them. I can't remember what she was in. If she's watching, you should drop it. But and she won it too. So she's a little pageant queen herself.
uh, So it runs in the family then.
It does, yeah.
The pageant success. She won one, and you got to meet Chris Hemsworth. So I call that a win as well. Do you have any particular expectations of? Well, first off, what's your first commitment when it comes to Miss World Australia? Like, have they announced final dates? Do you have an event to attend to? Any further competitions, interviews, stuff like that coming up?
Still no final dates. I've been asking.
Okay.
This has been going on for honestly like 2-3 years, this Miss World journey for me because of COVID. I could have competed in last year's one, but they wanted us to film ourselves, like this and submit that through to see if you would be a finalist or not. And I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. So I said I'd wait until we were back to being in live.
In person.
Yeah. So it's been a long journey. I still don't have final dates, but I believe it's probably 2-3 months away. I have a local Tasmanian designer making me my dress as we speak. So I'm trying to bring a lot of Tasmania into the pageant because from what I've been told, Tasmania's never even made it in the top 10 of the Miss World Australia pageant. So I'm really going to try and win it. I want to get past top 10. I want to win this thing. This is my one and only chance. But and then if I do get through, regardless if I get through or not, I actually have been thinking about obviously going into the hospitals, maybe singing to the children, reading some books, but also maybe this is very adventurous of me, but writing a children's book, just because obviously I've experienced cancer and the waking up of it and what happens after. And I feel like I could maybe make a book for the children that is a little bit relatable to their situation. So I'm going to see, what I can do there, if I can get a little children's book published this year. So fingers crossed.
If you want to do that, let me know because I've done that. I've released.
Have you?
Yeah, I've hit #1 on Amazon before with a book on women's mental health, and then released 3 pageant books, and they've all cracked the top 10.
Oh my gosh!
I actually create courses for people on how to publish books on Amazon.
So we're going to work together. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to know, please let me know, and I can tell you. I can point you in the right. You can actually get published within about 24 hours. That's what people do.
Oh, really?
So many people, it's like, oh, one day I want to be an author. And I get that. Like, it's, bucket list sort of material.
Yeah.
And then I tell them, well, what are you waiting for? Because I think it's really complicated. But the weird thing is they've never tried it. So I'm like, how do you know it's complicated when you never tried it? But they're like, oh, it must be complicated, right? You must have to do this. You've got to write it. And then for a children's book, there's illustrations. But there's way to do that very quickly these days. And then you can have uploaded within 24 hours. You could be on Amazon. So,
geez, we're gonna be a team here.
Simple. Great. I mean, especially if you're stuck at home. Why not become an author? Exactly. Along with your painting, you can write as well.
I might be able to do my own little illustrations.
I was going to say, that's one thing that would definitely set you apart is if you could do the illustrations yourself.
It's all right. I'm going to get it done. It's going to happen this year, and I think it'll be nice for the children to have something relatable while they're in there.
You'll have to come up with a title.
Yeah.
And it can't be the never-ending story. For copyright purposes, it cannot be the never-ending story. It can't be, I don't know, like The Little Mermaid or anything like that. I think that one's taken.
Yeah.
But we'll get back to that when we jump off here. Just before, because we've been on for quite a while already. I feel like I could talk to you about many, many things. But just before we go to the final 10, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to for supporting you along your journey? Because I imagine there must be some.
There are a lot. My family all came together and came to Hobart to support me. My nan, especially my mum, my little cousin Italia, she is just a saint. She's only, I could be wrong, I think she's about 12 or 13, and she stayed by me the whole time, and she was so brave, and it made me feel guilty that she was seeing me like that, but she has my mind. She's very determined. She's very one with God, and I thank you so much. And then my auntie Zippy flew from Melbourne, so a big thank you to her. She sat with me every single day in hospital as well and looked after me. And then also my boyfriend, Tom, he's been giving me my daily injections and medication and everything and was with me the whole time. So he's just the best. And this is why I feel like I've won the lotto, you know, my little Cinderella story. It's because of him. And then also, obviously, the church community for praying for me. I've felt the prayers the whole time. I still feel them. And just everyone who's wished me well and prayed for me, I thank you so much. And we're at the other end. And hopefully I never have to go through it again. But I'm just so grateful to be here and to be able to share my story.
Well, I certainly hope you don't have to go through anything like this again. But the way life works, it's always throwing us challenges. It's just the way it is. Anyway, let's get on to these final 10. So, number 1 is, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word? I say dull a lot, like, hey, dull. So dull.
Wow. I don't think I've heard that. Dull? You mean short for darling?
Yeah.
That's so old school.
I'm just a bit sarcastic, but it's not in a nasty way. It's like, it's just, you know how you get little things and you see your friend, you're like, hey, sweetie, hey, dull. So I say that a lot.
Hang on, doll or dal as in short for darling? Doll or dal?
Dull. I don't know. Maybe it's short for darling. I don't know where we came up with it, but yeah, just DOLL. Or actually chica. I say that a lot. Like, hey, chica, what are you doing, chica?
I was going to say, chica sounds a bit more Aussie. Doll sounds almost like you're from the southern states, because that's where they would say stuff like that, like "hey, doll" in a southern accent.
Just silly
That's an
words.
unusual one. Okay, number 2. What's your least favorite word?
Moist.
Okay, many people say that, and I have to ask you. So, how would you describe a chocolate cake that's just come out of the oven and is at perfect consistency? Because I use the word moist, but if you don't like the word moist, what do you use? Wet?
I mean, maybe wet's like the bad one. I don't know. Moist and wet. It just doesn't sit well, does it? But
I
no,
don't know.
A chocolate cake would be moist, but it doesn't mean that I like saying it, you know.
Isn't Tasmanian weather quite moist?
Moist, yes.
Look, I was going to just. You said you don't like wet and moist, but I mean, isn't that Tasmanian weather in a nutshell? Okay. Number 3, in life, what gets you excited, or what turns you on?
My friends and family. I'm an extrovert, so just being around people gets me excited.
And number 4, what turns you off?
What turns me off? Yeah, probably the victim mentality, just negative people.
What sound or noise do you love?
What sound or noise do I love? I love Disney songs.
Fair enough. What sound or noise do you hate?
Oh, like the scratching on a chalkboard.
Fair enough. Number 7, in life. No. Forgetting myself. If you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
What would I pick? Probably to fly. So then I could fly to like everywhere in the world and it wouldn't cost me any money and I can just swim around, just see the world.
Especially coming from Australia, where everywhere it takes 24 hours to fly minimum. Number 8, what job or career would you most like to attempt?
Being a mother, a stay-at-home mother. Some people might not classify that as a job, but I do, and I would like to attempt that one day.
I think it's the most underrated job in society. I think a lot of young women are taught that motherhood is something to be looked down on. You should focus on your career first. I'm like, none of us would be here without mothers. Let's just put it that way.
100%.
Number 9, what job or career would you definitely not like to attempt?
Maybe like garbage collection.
You mean collecting for the council,
the street,
not collecting garbage as a collector, but okay.
Yeah, just not into that. I did milk cows once. That wasn't fun. Yeah. wouldn't want to do that again either.
Doesn't sound particularly like fun. Although the other Tasmanian that I interviewed is a dairy farmer.
Annalise,
So,
she's awesome.
I've seen people drink the milk straight out of, after they've milked the cow, and I think that's a bit too close to home for myself.
Yeah. No, I'm not into that. That's not good. That sounds moist to me.
Well, there's just something about seeing something come out of one animal and then immediately eating it or drinking it. It's like I used to have a couple of chickens, and I would always have problems with eating their eggs because
there's so much more yellow. The fresh eggs are like really fluorescent, and then you buy the ones from the supermarket and you think they're normal, but
But you also look at the yolk. The yolk, by comparison, is huge when you crack open one of their eggs compared to the store-bought ones. So they're great. I just have an issue going, hang on, you laid that and now I'm going to eat it. It's just seems a bit too personal for my taste.
100%.
Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
He's your best friend. And then I can see Zach. And like my dogs and cats.
Yeah. Well, Tirah, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Can't wait to write this book with you.
Believe me, that will be one of the easiest things you've ever done in your life. But for those of you watching or listening, you can follow Tirah on Instagram at Tirah Ciampa, Ciampa. I haven't had enough coffee today. I apologize. Be in the show notes or the link to in the description below. But thank you so much, Tirah. I'll keep you on the line for just a sec whilst I hang up with the audience, and we will speak to you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Sorority Access is now open. So if you'd like to join an amazing group of women and learn how to be the most powerful, confident, and impactful queen possible, head to thepageantsorority.com. I'll see you there and see you in the next video.